Okay. Oh, I think I'm live now. I had to wait a minute as usual to make sure I'm live on LinkedIn and Instagram. I am actually 10 minutes late. My son is not feeling the best, so I don't think I'm going to take as long today. I'm going to try to make sure it's sweet, short and sweet and to the point. Um, Okay, so welcome to day three. My name is Alicia Moore. If you don't know me, I am the CEO of Clinical Science Research Solutions, and I'm also the founder of I Am Research and Wellness Foundation. And I am on day three of the masterclass that I started. We're in session two. If you haven't learned or watched session one that I did in December, you will have access to that as long as you have signed up for the event. All the recordings, they're on LinkedIn and YouTube. However, whenever I place everything in Thinkific, you're going to have more resources that you're not going to get on the live. So I'm going to add my presentation to the stage. And since we are running, almost 15 minutes behind, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Today, we are going to learn about like the actual meaning of government proposals like RFIs, RFQs, and RFPs. This is not about executing. You need to understand, if you don't already know, the meaning of these terms before you start executing anything, right? Does that make sense to anyone? And also, if you can hear me, type 1 in the chat. Again, this is for someone, if you're in the clinical research space, you're a minority, and you are wanting to know how can these certifications benefit you. You're the CEO of your business, you own at least 51% of your business, and you are the decision maker. If you're a consultant, healthcare provider, in any one of these industries that I have bulleted on here, this is exactly for you. So just to reiterate, this course is going to be about understanding the foundations of a proposal and what those definitions mean. It's not executing anything. And we're going to talk about where those rules and those definitions and what they mean, where they come from. For example, it comes from Federal Acquisition Regulation and the U.S. Small Business Administration resources. And again, we're focusing on understanding so you can make informed decisions, assess if you're ready or not to write proposals, and strategically engage with government opportunities. We want to make sure that you are understanding exactly what you're getting into before you make a huge mistake and not just necessarily make a fool out of yourself because you are prematurely going into an industry or going into a business model you know nothing about. So what are the learning objectives for today? As I mentioned before, we're going to understand the definitions of the RFI, RFQs, and RFPs and what they mean as far as like in the federal procurement standards. You're going to understand the purpose of the solicitation type. We're going to identify official guidance on proposals, where it's published. You're going to understand when each solicitation type is used. You're going to recognize why proposal, being ready and understanding the foundation before you execute, why that's important. And we're going to evaluate opportunities from a leadership and risk perspective. And some of these I may or may not get to. As I said, my son is home and he's not feeling the best. Okay, government proposals are a formal procurement instrument used by federal agencies to acquire goods and services while ensuring fair and open competition, compliance with federal law, responsible use of public funds, and documented decision making. That's public, right? And those governing rules, proposals, it's established by the Federal Acquisition Regulation called FAR. And you're going to see how FAR actually works, and just kind of get an understanding of, those different type of definitions as it pertains to the WMBE, small business owners. And I'm not going to dive too deep into it, but I'm just going to give you a small demonstration on what that actually looks like here in just a second. So a rule of thumb is the FAR is a rule book federal agency that uses to buy goods and services. Businesses, you don't have to know all of it, but they do need to know where to look when certification, set asides, and eligibility are mentioned. Just to give you an idea where proposal rules come from, remember I talked about FAR. This is what FAR looks like. FAR, it's almost like, let me think. I can't think of it right now, but it's set up in parts. So you have, like here, part 10, part 19, small business programs. And then you have your subsections, like let's say part 10.100, part 19.220. So it's set up in parts. And if you want to verify why something is required in a proposal, FAR is the authoritative source. And also, whenever you register for this event, you're going to have access to the slides. And then I've actually hyperlinked the FAR website in the slide deck. So how do you use the FAR website? I'll demonstrate that in a minute, but I just want to kind of go over what it means. So the FAR website, as I mentioned before, is organized in parts, and each part covers a specific topic, whether we're talking about eligibility, contracts, and small businesses. For today, we're going to focus on women-owned small business, MWBE, and government contracting. And again, that database is fairly large, so it's no way impossible I'll be able to cover all of it. However, we're just going to stick with what is applicable to today's lesson. So FAR Part 19, small business programs, what does it cover? It covers small business participation, set-asides, WOSB, EDWOSB programs. And the WOSB, that's actually something we are going for right now. As a matter of fact, it's called Woman Small Business Certification, and that is totally different than the MWBE. The MWBE mainly focuses on, I think, state, not necessarily federal. I have to go look, but it's not federal. The WOSB actually gives you the opportunity to bid on federal contracts, and you'll see that here in just a second. So again, remember I talked about the FAR is sectioned off into parts, and then the sections, it even goes a little further. So key sections like 19.1505 talks about set-asides for women-owned small businesses. 19.1506 talks about eligibility requirements. 19.1507 talks about contracting officer responsibilities. So this section tells contracting officers when and how they are allowed to reserve contracts specifically for woman-owned small businesses. This is where the WOSB authority lives. And the ED stands for economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business. And each one of these have a different criteria. As I mentioned before, I already have my WMBE or MWBE. Oops. But this is in progress. As a matter of fact, we are past the screening stage, and now an analyst is going to actually go through and review the content in which, the content that they required for the WOSB certification. Put your questions in the chat. I see a couple of people that are already online. So FAR Part 2, it describes the definition of a small business, contracting officer set aside. So if you're ever confused by a term used in a solicitation, this is where you verify what the government legally means, not what Google says. FAR Part 5, publicizing contract actions. So this one, it talks about, this part governs how and when agency posts opportunities. This is interesting. So this connects FAR to SAM.gov. So what is the point? This is why SAM.gov exists and why opportunities must be posted publicly. FAR Part 6 is competition requirements. So again, this talks about when competition is required, when sole source is allowed, important for the woman-owned small business later. So this helps you to understand why some contracts are competitive and others are not. Let me know if I'm going too fast. So if you are a minority woman business enterprise certified organization, where do you fit in at? Of course, it's a huge credibility moment for you. Now, the woman-owned small business and the ED woman-owned small business is FAR regulated. The MWBE certification, here we go, is generally state, local, institutional, and it's not federal FAR. It's not a federal FAR program. FAR governs federal contracting while MWBE programs operate alongside it at the state and institutional level. So that alone will separate you from 90% of the MWBE courses. Actually, that shouldn't say courses. It will separate you from everybody else that's in a small business owner. So what's the connection? FAR governs federal, MWBE governs state, local, and institutional, and many institutions align their procurement policies with FAR principles. So, you all, I'm really big on ensuring that I have the opportunities to leverage whether my credibility, it strengthens doing something that's going to strengthen my business model. And right now, going for this certification is going to strengthen it even more, because now it's going to put me in the lane of bidding on federal contracts too, and not just state, local, and institutional. So that's something you probably want to think about. So where the proposals fit in the procurement life cycle. Proposals are not the first step in government contracting. They often recur, well, actually they occur after the government need is identified, the market's research has been conducted, small businesses are discovered using federal systems like SAM.gov, and then the agency determines its acquisition strategy. So by the time a solicitation is released, the agency has already defined the problem, the budget framework, and the performance expectations. And whenever you have registered for your MWBE and you get registered, let's say like in Missouri Buys, and a lot of times you're going to see those solicitations. I'm starting to see solicitations every day, a couple of times a day. And some of those solicitations are not applicable to my business as of right now, but you will start seeing the solicitations. And this is at the state level, and they are very lengthy. And it depends upon the project. It depends upon what those buyers, what they're needing. But it's pretty paperwork heavy. Definitely regulated, and it's definitely structured. So what is the request for information? What does that mean, and what's the purpose? The request for information is a market research tool used by government agencies to, 1, understand available capabilities, 2, to identify potential vendors, 3, to inform future acquisition strategies. Request for information, it does not result in awards. That's not the purpose of it. As it explicitly states, you're requesting for information. They are governed by FAR Part 10 market research. Why do the RFIs matter? It allows agencies to shape future solicitations. It determines if small business set asides are appropriate. And it also assesses industry maturity. So, request for information, it's like intelligent gathering tools, kind of like you're doing a market analysis on your business model, or a market analysis on whether or not you should start a business in a bakery, whether there's a need or not. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's a revenue opportunity. It just means you're gathering information to make sure you have the tools available to request for that information or to understand the information. And I hope that makes some sense. So, request for quotation. So, what does that mean? A request for quotation is used when requirements are clear, the acquisition is typically simplified, the price and technical acceptability are primary factors. Requests for quotations are commonly used under FAR Part 13, Simplified Acquisitions. Why do RFQ matter? Why do they matter? They matter and they prioritize accuracy, price, making sure the prices are reasonable, and it's making sure compliance is in check and in place. So RFQs, request for quotation, rewards businesses that are already operational ready. So by the time you understand what RFQs, RFIs, RFPs, and why proposals, why they exist, once you have a basic actually thoroughly understand that, then it's going to be time for you to start, really heavily looking at proposals and those solicitations. Because without having the foundation and understanding what these definitions mean, you're really going to be lost. And then also, as I mentioned before yesterday, whenever you have obtained your certification, like with the SBA, they have a lot of resources that you can tap into that, let's say, once you are certified with the state, whoever is the representative for that company right there in the state, they normally send you resources so you can make an appointment with, let's say, Missouri Apex Accelerator. So at that point, that you can be assigned to an individual that's going to step you through all of this, right? And again, once like in the Think of It course, I will make sure you have all those resources available to you. And it's also state specific as well. So whoever I have in Missouri, you have to make sure you are targeting people that's right in your state, and not, if you live in Florida, you really don't have any business talking to somebody in Missouri that works at the Apex Accelerator. If you do, that just means they will just direct you to the state in which you live in. Okay, so let's see here. The request for proposal, again, we're going through definitions. What does it mean? It is a formal solicitation used for complex or high value procurements where multiple evaluation factors apply, trade-offs may be considered, technical, management, and price proposals are required. RFPs are governed by FAR Part 15, contracting by negotiation. And why do RFP matters? Why do they matter? They evaluate a technical approach, management capability, past performance, the real cost and risk. And then also, let's think, RFPs test organizational maturity and not enthusiasm. And again, once you have registered with your state and you're certified, you're going to see a ton of requests, RFPs, and they are very, very detailed. Some are very long. And some of the buyers that are doing the requesting, they have a ton of documents that you have to go through. So again, it's very important that you align your business, your NAS codes to your business to make sure it's applicable. And then whenever you get ready to register, from my experience with the Missouri buys, Having those specific codes is really going to matter because it's going to kind of dictate what kind of solicitations that are going to be emailed to you. Sometimes the solicitations are not really applicable to your business, no matter what you do. Okay, so proposal literacy versus proposal execution. Again, literacy just means you understand the solicitation types. You understand and know when opportunities apply to your business. You are able to interpret the requirements correctly, and you're able to assess the risk before bidding. Now, proposal execution involves when you start writing narratives, formatting responses, managing submissions. You're going to actually turn in those submissions. You're responding to a proposal or solicitation. So, again, this course focuses on literacy so leaders can decide whether to pursue an opportunity, not how to write it. We will get in how to write it, and I'm thinking about doing a part 3. I have to think about that, but right now I'm doing part 1, and this is part 2 of this the master class. And to be honest, the execution, just to kind of give you all a reminder, whenever you register for this these courses, it's going to put you on the waiting list for my MWBE retreat. That's where the execution occurs. You guys, this is a lot to do behind the scenes, but again, I just want to give you this information so you're aware of what it takes to get certified and what this actually means and the opportunities that are available to you when you are certified. So with anything else, being prepared is actually just being responsible. You're not going into anything that you're not aware of or that you haven't educated yourself on. So most proposals, they fail before the writing begins. Why? Their SAM.gov registration is not active. Their NAS codes are not in alignment with their business model. They have insufficient past performances, inadequate compliance systems, and a lack of operational capacity. I touched on this in part 1 whenever I introduced this certification, and I think I touched on it a few days ago. You do not want to go after a solicitation or a proposal knowing that you're not capable of delivering what they are needing at that organization. So you have to understand your operational capacity, your business capacity. If you are only able to deliver, again, I always use myself, if you're in workforce development or if you are opening up your clinical research site or a site owner, if you know you can take on just maybe 3 studies for your site, or if you know you can only take on just 25 students per cohort, then those are the proposals and the solicitations you need to go after. You don't need to go after anything that's going to yes, dear. Yes. You don't need to go after proposals around that way, my son, that is well above your capacity ability. That is going to ensure you're going to fail. And then at that point, you're not going to be awarded any contracts or, have anything like the business. They're going to say, you know what, my son, we cannot buy their products or services because they weren't able to deliver. They exaggerated on their capacity and they just failed. So what happens whenever you prematurely submit proposals? What does that increase? Well, you're going to be disqualified. You're going to be seen as a high risk. And it's also going to demonstrate that your compliance, you don't know anything about compliance, and it's going to show the lack thereof. It's going to damage your reputation as a business owner. And that's something that you don't want. So it's okay to start small. This is not a rat race. You are building for longevity with your business. And then as your business grows with anything else, then you will be able to scale up. So whenever you are well prepared, this will protect both the business and the government. You just need to make for sure that you are protecting, it's called CYA. I'm normally not this blunt, but you need to make sure that you are protecting yourself and your business. That way you're not blacklisted, or, because word gets around, as far as, having those opportunities. You want to make for sure that you are clear and those organizations see that you are well prepared to deliver the services and to deliver the business or whatever it is that you have to offer. You're able to do the work and do it well. So, what does preparing for a proposal mean? I'm looking at my son here. So, what does it mean? So, you are active in sam.gov. Your NAS codes are accurate in alignment with your business model. You have completed the SBA business profile. Your capability statement is in alignment. It's correct, even down to the bullet points. You don't want to have your capability statement. Let's say if your bullet points are far to the right, and then like underneath it, let's say your past performance bullet points is not in alignment. Those things matter. Also, just making sure you have your cage codes, your UEI, just your business information, a summary of your business, those types of things. As I mentioned before, go back and watch that video. All those things matter. So documented past performance, you have that on there, and internal systems to perform the work. That means you have the capability, the operational capacity to do what you said you were going to do. So a well-prepared proposal should demonstrate you are knowledgeable, and it's not going to expose your incapability or the lack thereof, and you're not understanding what a proposal means, right? Whenever you are well prepared, it's going to show that you understand exactly what a proposal means. So it's not good to chase every proposal. Why? Because it's probably not going to fit your business model. That's like with anything else. So you need to be selective in which proposal that you actually want to go after. As I mentioned before, I've seen proposals from a Missouri buys that I have seen come my way in my email, and I go to my Missouri buys and I actually look at the proposal of solicitation, and it doesn't match my business model. So that's not a proposal or solicitation I'm going to go after. So if you are chasing the wrong opportunity leads, it's going to lead to lower win rates. You're probably not going to win at all because it's not in alignment with your business model. Poor quality submissions is going to be poor because your submission is not going to be in alignment with their needs, the business needs, the buyer's needs. Also, it could lead to burnout and inefficiency. Again, you need to pace yourself whenever you're looking at these proposals, right? These solicitations, and go after the ones that's applicable to your business, and go after the ones you know for a fact you're going to be able to deliver. So strategic businesses pursue solicitations that are aligned with experience, capacity, and compliance, right? When not to bid. You should decline or pause when, I kind of touched on this, when the requirements exceeds capacity, compliance elements are missing, past performance is inefficient, financial or operational risk is at an all-time high. So declining strategically demonstrates your maturity, and it demonstrates that you have common sense, So again, I mentioned I've seen solicitations that I have the opportunity to say, okay, I'm interested and I want to pursue, or I actually decline it. I have declined a couple of solicitations already because it doesn't fit my business model. Okay. So this lesson, it fits a larger program. It demonstrates, or it provides foundational proposal literacy, system level understanding. You're understanding the system, you're understanding how the government works, why they have these particular frameworks. Let's see. Later on, I'm thinking about doing proposal analysis walkthroughs, which I'll probably do. This is something I want to do in my MWBE retreat. RFI, response strategies, RFQ, evaluation checklists, and RFP section breakdowns. So I want you to think about literacy comes first and then the execution comes second, comes later. And that's with anything that you do. That's kind of like with dieting. I don't think it's, to me, if you don't understand the foundations as to why you're gaining weight, looking at your food, then going around and exercising and not addressing the fact that you're not in a calorie deficit, or maybe you have an health issue, it's not going to do you any good. You need to understand what's going on first. And then that way you'll be able to execute your plan, your weight loss plan and goals second. So what are some of today's takeaways? Right here. Are you fixing my plate? Thank you. Government proposals are defined by regulation, designed to reduce risk. They are built on you being well prepared, and it starts by you understanding the very basics of what RFQs, RFIs, what they all mean, FAR, the purpose of having FAR, how to navigate through FAR. Yes. Bye. Leaders succeed by understanding what proposals are, when they matter, and why preparation always comes first. Today, I want to do something a little bit different. I normally have like some takeaways and kind of like a recap, but I want you to reflect upon something. Can you ask yourself, or just ask yourself, can I clearly explain the differences between RFIs, RFQs, RFPs, even FAR? What does that mean and how to navigate through it? Do I understand or know where official guidance lives? Is my business proposal ready today? Would winning this contract create strain or stability? So those are some questions you can reflect on. I have a knowledge check. This is something different that I'm doing. So a couple different questions. If you were taking notes, you may be able to answer these questions right. So question number 1, which solicitation type is governed by FAR Part 10? Question number 2, which solicitation focuses most on price and technical acceptability? Question number 3, which solicitation allows trade-offs between evaluation factors? And question number 4, if you want to go ahead and answer that one in the chat, you can. It'll be a quick one. True or false? Proposals are marketing documents. Is that true or false? I will wait just a minute for you all to answer those questions. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the FAR platform. Okay. I'll take that off the stage for right now. Okay. Okay. I've given you a few minutes. So the answer to question 1, which part of the solicitation type is governed by FAR Part 10? It is request for information. FAR Part 10 refers to market research. Question number 2, which solicitation focuses most on price and technical acceptability? The answer to that is request for quote, RFQ. Price is primary. Technical capability must meet requirements. Question number 3, which solicitation allows trade-offs between evaluation factors? The answer to that is request for proposal. Trade-offs between price, technical approach, and past performance, etc. That's exactly what that means, or the answer to that question. And question number 4 is a true or false question. Which are proposals marketing documents? And that's false. Why? Proposals are formal, regulated procurement responses, not marketing materials. Before we get to any questions, what I want to do is I just want to show you what FAR looks like. Let's say if you are, and I've already typed one in, but let's go over one of the FAR sections that I mentioned in the presentation. And give me just a second so I can actually, let's see. And again, I've given you the website to go to for FAR, but I'm just going to do a small demonstration right here, just so you can see what it looks like. And again, it's going to pertain to woman-owned business, small business organizations that have been certified. Okay, so we're going to do FAR part 19.1505. We're going to select enter. And 19.1505, that is for set asides for woman or women-owned small businesses. And whenever we put in 19.1505, that's exactly what it pulls up. So let's see here. Here we go. The internet was doing something silly. So whenever you go and look this up, it definitely gives you a plethora of information to help you understand what this means. So what does set aside procedures mean? I'm not going to read through all of this, but just to give you an idea on how to use FAR as it pertains to the topic at hand. And then at the bottom, subpart 19.15, Women-Owned Small Business Program. Let's click on that and see what it says. Let me see if I can make my screen bigger. And you can actually download this too, print it off. So what does it say? Okay, so Section 8M of the Small Business Act created the Women-Owned Small Business Program. The purpose of the WOSB program is to ensure women-owned small business concerns have an equal opportunity to participate in federal contracting and to assist agencies in achieving their woman-owned business participation goals. An economically disadvantaged women-owned small business, the EDWOSB concern, and a WOSB concern eligible under the WOSB program are subcategories of women-owned small business concern as defined in section 2.101. Out of curiosity, let's go to that one. It gives you definitions of what that means. It gives you the definition of acquisition. It gives you the definition of acquisition planning, activity address code, advisory assistance, and services. So this gives you an idea on how to educate yourself on what FAR means as it pertains to woman-owned business and the certification. It has a plethora of information that you can um, go through. And remember, whenever I talked about whenever you register in sam.gov, it's going to assign a UEI and cage number. Well, here's what the cage means: commercial and government entity cage code means an identifier assigned to entities located in the United States or its outlying areas by the Defense Logistics Agency commercial and government entity branch to identify a commercial or government entity by unique location or, and the definition goes on and on. Okay. So that was my small demonstration of how to use FAR and have an understanding of what the terms mean and where to go to find legitimate legal terminology and not just using Google. Okay, does anybody have any questions? And for some reason yesterday, my questions, they were not popping up. Like I'm using StreamYard. It's not popping up in the comment section. It's just weird. I don't know what's going on. Okay. Okay. Well, I don't see any questions, and we're actually ending on time, despite the fact that I started 10 minutes late. 15. Any questions? And again, register for this event. If you have any questions, you can email me. Let me pull up my banner. Email me at csrs@clinicalscienceresearchsolutions.com. And also, we're going to be doing some other things at CSRS and I Am Research and Wellness Foundation. So stay tuned for more webinars. And if you would like to be a guest speaker, I'm going to get some applications up for my nonprofit and for profit. So if you're wanting to be a guest speaker, you can also email csrs@clinicalscienceresearchsolutions.com. That way we can get you on the list of webinars for you to basically share your knowledge, very educational. And what I'm going to do is upload those into Thinkific as an on-demand course. So I know people get tired of me. Sometimes I get a little tired of talking. I don't want to be the only one teaching anything, but it's going to be nice to have a repertoire of different people in the industry coming in with their different area of expertise and their experiences and the do's and don'ts and lessons learned. So it will definitely give you an opportunity to shine very bright and for others to come and listen. So again, email me at csrs@clinicalscienceresearchsolutions.com. And also, if you, let's see here. If you're a sponsor, please email iam4health@gmail.com. And also, if you are wanting to do webinars, be a guest speaker for iam4health@gmail.com or for IAM Research and Wellness Foundation, community events and things like that, please email iam4health@gmail.com as well. I will get it out. And if nothing else, this concludes today's lesson. This is the last day. Again, make sure you register for the event. And if you've registered, I will be sending out emails a little later on to the people that have registered, so you will have access to Thinkific. I want to make sure Thinkific is all well put together. You've got the resources there, and also you will have a lifetime access to these sessions. And as time goes and as I'm growing in my business, I will be adding more to the courses. So stay tuned for more information, and then I will see you probably next month with more live events. I'm doing monthly live events. I don't think I can do anything more. So I'm doing 3 or 4 day stretches. 3 days, I think, is like my sweet spot. Okay. We are going to talk later. Ciao.